So
There you go.
are you ready to get back and dive into your deep depression?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hey, how we doing? Travis Myers here, your host for the Another Nobody podcast, and this is episode 2 of my interview with Justin Evans. So, in the event you did not listen last week to episode number 1, please do yourself a favor. Go back, give it a listen, so you're all caught up for this one. Believe me, you'll be happy you did. This is an interesting guy. Are you ready? Take a listen. All right, we are back. And the question I have for you is, I was just talking before about how even myself, who is, compared to you, has no podcast experience, all right? But I do find it, telling the same horrid stories over and over again, a bit depressing. Do you and Aaron, and I'll add Aaron into this because you can speak for him in his absence, all right? Have you ever, been depressed over it? Because it's been, for you, it's a mountain of work now. It's 12, 13 years. 13 years you've been doing
13
this?
years, yeah.
The lucky year. Yeah, lucky you, 13. So 13 years you've been talking about, horrible people doing horrible things. Does it ever kind of sink in a little bit?
I hate to admit that no.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hate about it. You can keep it. It is still an abstraction for you because it's a story.
It's more of a puzzle and storytelling to me. And so it's a way that you can compartmentalize or distance yourself from it.
Yeah.
I will say on the peripheral, when I'm speaking to somebody one-on-one,
right,
that weighs way more heavy with me than just talking about a court case, a trial, or some horrible thing that happened in the world. It's easier to distance yourself from that and cut your emotions off. Now, not to say that of the 500-600 episodes I've done, there hasn't been one that has affected me. Yeah, there absolutely has been dozens that have, but for the most part, doesn't get me down. Even with the peripheral, it can shatter me. It can be heart-wrenching. But weirdly enough, all my depression in my life and everything has never been related to the content that I cover. That's always just been like, well, this is what I'm interested in, and I feel good spreading this information and telling other people about it, and I'm somehow able to compartmentalize that and not let it get to me.
Fair enough. I get that. Yeah.
I'm sure.
I was just curious because I know, quite often too, especially, we're basically in show business now. This is show business, but people do like to have that, I don't know, play the woe is me sympathy card kind of thing, and say, oh yes, I find it so difficult. It really hurts me to do this, but I'm still doing it for 13 years,
and I'm still getting a paycheck for it. So, don't be a hypocrite, Well,
I appreciate your honesty there. Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. But there are challenges when you're a public figure, when you're a quote unquote celebrity, online creator, influencer, whatever stupid label we give it to these days. Yeah.
Well, that is another question I had for you, and I don't want to get in the way of wherever we were going with the podcasting, but it is part of it. The podcasting, all right, and becoming, I'm sure none of this was a question at all in the beginning when you had your 1,000 listeners, but as soon as you got into your tens of thousands or hopefully millions now, what do you call it? You ended up saying one or two things that ended up getting you canceled, didn't you?
So weirdly enough, can we cuss on this podcast?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know the story about the guy that fucked a goat? Okay.
Yes, I like that analogy very much. If you want to tell it, go ahead.
Yeah, so, goat fucker walks into the bar and the bartender's like, why do they call you the goat fucker? He's like, well, I built that bridge. I built that building over there. I plowed that trench over there. He goes, do they call me the bridge builder? Do they call me the trench digger? No, you fuck one goat. And you'll forever be called the goat fucker.
Exactly.
I never fucked a goat. I hung around somebody else who did.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, when there's like 12 podcasters,
Yeah.
you know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You're helping each other out. You're being supportive. And one of them said a lot of nasty shit online. And one of them wasn't a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really pay attention to the shit he would say. I didn't listen to his podcast. I didn't really care, you know? And we would do conventions, or we wouldn't do them together. We would just go to the conventions. He would be there. I met him at conventions and whatever. And he was super cool to me. He was always very nice and generous with his time. And he blew up, got big. But his online behavior got him in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm around him. I'm around him, and I'm around dozens of other podcasts.
Sure.
But just the fact that I'm around this guy
Mm-hmm.
is enough where people are like, fuck him, fuck anyone associated with him. Like, it's just, you know, and I never really thought much about it because I'm like, I'm not, you know, I'm friends with Aaron. I've known Aaron since 1993. You know, like, sure, we can say we're friends, but are we best friends? Have we known each other for a lifetime? No, we're more acquaintances. So I'm an acquaintance of this guy. And apparently he's being actively canceled, doxxed, threatened. People are going after him.
Emmett, can I ask who or for what? If you don't want to say who, because I don't know who it is anyway.
Yeah.
But what did he do that was so egregious that not only got him canceled, you know, labeled whatever they labeled him, a Nazi, misogynist, you know, whatever, that they had to drag you down with him?
I mean, he was saying misogynistic things, and he was being very dismissive towards mental health, towards the LGBT community, lots of things like that. But honestly, I didn't pay that much attention. And to this day, I don't fucking care. I just don't care. Like, I'm like, okay, that's his thing, not really mine. And this all kind of, they started coming after me, and I had at the time a Facebook group, discussion group with like 10, 12,000 members in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they would come into my group and blast this other guy. And, you know, the group rules are no personal attacks, no cussing, blah, blah, blah. So then we would be like, okay, my moderators would kick these people out. And they're like, oh, you're silencing us. You're censoring us.
Yes,
so no matter what you do, it's going to be twisted and used against you.
Absolutely.
I do not pile on. I don't partake in online bullying or anything. And because I didn't speak out against this guy, then obviously I'm his best friend, and I, you know, support him and, you know, agree with every single thing he says. And I'm like, no, not really. It's just doing my thing. And at the same time, you know, I'm going through a lot. You know, I'm changing jobs. I'm still working my corporate job, even though I'm doing my my podcast. And so these rumblings are happening. This is probably 2016, 2017-ish.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming after me, and they're coming after members in my Peripheral group, people that, you know, suffer with mental health, addiction, all these things that they claim they're champions for. And now they're going after them. And this all sort of coalesced, this climaxed. I was doing a charity event where me and a bunch of other podcasters were raising money to end the backlog. And Ending the Backlog is an organization that tests rape kits.
Yes. I'm familiar with it. Yes.
I mean, it's a pretty good thing to raise money for. And
because you have these Vitulo kits for Vitulo is what we call it. It's the name of the kit. And sometimes, you know, there's such a backlog that they haven't been tested sometimes for years and years, which of course gums up the entire system, and the cases are not going to court. And if they do go to court, the test hasn't been done, it's not ready, the guy can get off because you don't have the test kit ready. And, you know, through due process, he is no matter how bad a guy he is, okay, he has the right to be to a speedy trial.
Yeah.
You know, it's really gums up the whole process. And so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're trying to raise money.
Yeah. I'm trying to
You
raise
know,
money for this.
right.
Okay. In the backlog, like what more honorable, good thing can you do a charity event for? So it's me, a couple other podcasters, and this guy, and we're raising money. All the money we raise is going to this. I'm not taking a dime. In fact, it's costing me money to fly myself out to these events, stay at a hotel. I mean, it's costing me thousands of dollars to raise money
Do
for
the right thing.
Yeah, because I'm just doing it. And he is being actively canceled. And now they're like, look, Justin's billed with him. Justin's part of his organization. Justin is this, Justin is that. And they came after me hard. They had subreddit accounts, Facebook hate groups, Instagram. They would just bombard every single social media platform I was on, telling me what a horrible person I was, doxing me, telling me to kill myself, spreading rumors about me, saying I was cheating on my wife. It's like, it's just not good enough that I'm hanging around a bad guy. They have to now make shit up.
Yes.
And
What was the vicious thing with this? I don't know. Believe me, thank God it was all after my time.
Yeah.
But whenever this, what is that? The word? Well, it's become politically correct.
Yeah.
Right. Whenever the politically correct stuff started, which again morphed into what we now call woke or wokeism,
Yeah.
they are bananas, man. They're bananas. And not that always their causes are unjust, but take a minute, man. Think about what you're talking about and who you're talking about.
And it's fine if somebody's like, hey, Justin, like there's a lot of terms and sayings that you shouldn't say anymore, or you should say it in another way. Like, for instance, you don't say commit suicide or he committed suicide. You say he took his own life, he killed himself, whatever it is. I didn't know that when I'm going through my podcast journey. So if somebody emails me and says, hey, love you, love your show, just wanted to let you know, we don't say that anymore. We say this.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, man, I don't want to offend anybody. Thank you for letting me know. I will absolutely change my verbiage here. But if you come into my DMs or posts and say, you're a fucking piece of shit, you're so, unsympathetic to suicide, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what kind of response do people think you're going to get from, hey, I'm coming to you with respect, as opposed to I'm coming to you with absolute vitriol,
So much of this too comes down to freedom of speech. And I am, for the most part, freedom of speech, I guess, absolutist. I actually want to know what people think.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to changing the words, I think the changing the words thing is actually a tool or a weapon that these people use. So, like you were just saying before, you're not allowed to say commit suicide. That's absolutely stupid, or because it's not. You're inventing things. We've said that for hundreds of years. A big one today, and I know you're going to be familiar with this, is prostitution or sex worker.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't refuse to say, I do not say sex worker because I have, if I can, I want to say I have too much respect, okay, for the victims who are involved in prostitution to whitewash it with the nicer term of sex worker. I think it is a whitewashing of how awful it is because there is no woman or man, okay, involved in prostitution that wants to be there. And when we meet these people, and I know we've both met some of these people like crime, okay, who are very shall I say pro prostitution? I want to say yes. But the fact of the matter is I'm sorry, but you are pro prostitution because of traumas in your own life that you were somehow trying to, again, whitewash with freedom. It is not freedom. It is not a way to live. It is not how you want to live. It's a very, very, very heartbreaking sad, serious situation. And for me, I'm not hurting prostitutes by calling them prostitutes, which they have been called for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We've used the same terminology. To change it to a nicer term. I don't want it to be nicer. I want you to know that it's ugly, because it is. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I can't say you're wrong there. I mean, there's a lot of things in my world where I have a problem saying it. Like, for instance, the LGBTQ community, queer. When I was growing up, queer was not a good word. We had a little game called Smear the Queer. I mean, I'm like, I don't feel right saying queer today. And they're like, oh no, it's fine now. And I'm like, I'm not going to say it.
But then,
I'm not going to say
then the truth of the matter is, though, queer by definition means odd, strange, different, So I should be able to use it any way I want. Oh, we're having a queer conversation, but it sounds so stupid if I say that, Here's a little, I don't want to, again, you're supposed to be telling the stories, not me. Are you familiar with the band, The Queers?
Yeah.
Great band. Great band. And Joe Queer, funny enough, they're not homosexuals. All right. Not that should be funny or not, but they've been around forever. Great punk band, dozens of albums. Joe was actually canceled. Joe Queer, the head queer, right? It sounds funny when I say it like that. He was canceled once for, and again, this is a very serious punk guy. What was it? The Michael Brown case. That was in your neck of the woods, And all he simply said at the time, all right, he was, I don't want to say foolish enough to say it to a magazine, but he said, I don't know what everybody worked out. We got to wait and see what happened in this case. And people went nuts. He was canceled from shows. Venues said you couldn't play here anymore. That lasted all of about a year. And then, of course, he was a hero again, or a hero to his fans again, I should say. But it's amazing how nuts people get over the word retarded. I said retarded my entire life. I actually have family members who it says on their paperwork, because they're older, okay, suffers from mental retardation. It's a word, Your clothes can be fire retardant because it slows the fire. It's a word. You can't get bent out of joint about these things. I'm sorry. That's my opinion.
And if somebody wants to send you a message and be like, hey, we don't say that anymore, that's fine.
Sure.
But don't come with vitriol. Don't come with hate.
And again, your answer should be, well, then don't listen to me anymore.
And I don't want to offend. And I have changed my language over the years, because I want people to listen, and I want them to get something good out of this. And I want to put more good out in the world. So, I try my best, but when a drill cadet shows me that life isn't fair, or when you come at me online and you show me that nothing I say or do will ever change your mind, even to the point where I apologized and denounced the other guy, the harassment just got worse.
Well, here's a lesson learned. Not that I'm teaching you lessons, but I think you learned it. These people, it does not matter if you apologize.
No.
You don't want to be apologized. They want to destroy. And this is a small segment of society, Again, not being a social media guy, I've always kind of been pretty immune to it. And not that I don't give a shit what he thinks about me anyway, But the idea that, or the fact that they're going to hate you to hate you. They don't even know you, and they're going to beat up on you because it makes them feel good while they're banging away at their computer, And again, it makes them feel good to hate. It's got nothing to do with the fact of the matter. And apologizing will only make you weaker and make them come at you more.
And being around as long as I have, I've gotten it from all sides, both sides, every single group out there. I have pissed them all off. It's not just the woke culture. It is the right, the left. It is everybody. I've gotten hate from everybody. But this major cancellation is mainly just haters of this other podcast who all of a sudden decided to take it out on me.
Right.
And to this day, I'm like, what exactly did I do wrong here? I didn't call them out soon enough. I don't even know what happened. And I've read their psychobabble posts and I've tried to make sense of it. And I'm just like, I'm done. So, if you know anyone that's been canceled, there's some people that are pieces of shit out there. There are some people that say horrible things, have done horrible things. And if you're Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby, I get it.
Yeah,
Get
of
it.
course.
But when it's just some Joe Schmo on Twitter, like, come on, like, let's, so my problem, I guess, is that, like, I was so harassed and bullied for years and gaslit by people saying, no, that's not what you meant. You meant this, or you said that.
Yeah.
And, you're around long enough, you're going to piss everybody off. And there are influencers and entire groups out there whose sole purpose is just to go after others and delete them from society. And evidence, context, nuance doesn't fucking matter. And as I like to say, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion.
Absolutely. Well, like talking about this podcasting thing, so many of these shows are simply built on talking trash about the other side.
Yeah.
Especially politically, be it left or right, they both do it.
Yeah.
They just want to tear each other apart.
Yeah.
And careers are made on it.
And any apology, point out one celebrity apology that was good enough. Point one out to me. I'll give you $1. Point one out where they apologize and people are like, oh yeah, that was cool. Like, I totally forgive him now. Never has happened.
Never.
And so at this point, I'm getting canceled. I'm having hundreds, if not thousands of people doxing me. And sorry, but doxing is essentially, it's when they post your address or your location. Right. But what's the point of doxing? Because they want some crazy person to come kill you. To me, that's it. Like, there's
they want you to live in fear of that. Even if it never happens, now nut jobs know where you live.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, you've now attacked me. You've drawn the line in the sand, but you want me to be on your side. Never going to happen now. You went after my wife. You went after my job. You went after every aspect of my life now. So I will never agree with you. It's not that I'm going to be against you. It's not like I'm going to jump on the other side and be one of their, flag bearers. No. But any chance you had of me being an ally for your cause is now gone.
As it should be.
I no longer fucking donate to charities. For a long time, I stopped mentoring or helping other podcasts. Just like, nope, fuck you. You backstabbed me once, learn my lesson. I don't claim anyone as a friend. I just assume everyone has an agenda that's coming after me and turns against me. Those are the lessons I learned is don't be kind. Don't donate. Because the abuser doesn't get to dictate the lesson learned. The abuser doesn't get to tell the victim, oh, this is the way you should behave. Because it's just like, now my behavior is, I won't help anyone. Because life isn't fair and I don't need to be the good guy. I don't need to do good in the world because you've shown me what it feels like. It's like you showed me that there is no amount of good I could do if I hung out with this guy a couple times and that's all it takes for you to want to destroy my life. And to this day, I've spoken to a lot of other people that have been canceled, are being actively canceled. I'll reach out to them and I'm like, you doing okay?
Yeah.
I've been through here. I'm not an enemy. I'm not trying to fuck with you. I'm here to support you. Are you doing okay? Like, because there's nothing you can do when you're being actively canceled. You can't just shut your phone off. You can't just shut the world out. You have to engage.
And especially in your world, because you're not, you're not a plumber going to work anonymously. Your whole life now is in the public realm.
Yeah. And here's something crazy is every single person that I've talked to that's been canceled, I'm like, hey, but you want to come on the Peripheral and talk about it? No. I have people on the Peripheral that talk about some of the most horrifying things that have ever happened in their life. Sexual assault, them hitting rock bottom. To this day, Nobody that's ever been canceled will dare come on my podcast and talk to me about it publicly.
Yeah.
That's how fucked up it is. And that's how scared they are.
Yeah.
Because they're scared that it'll happen again.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared that these people are still out there waiting, lying in wait to attack them again. And that just, it says a lot, because I'm not this anti-cancel culture guy, but I know what it actually means now. And I'm like, dude, like, let's stop that. Like,
Yeah, we know. Well, you are the anti-cancel culture
I guess
guy.
I am.
Well, hey, and rightfully so, because
Yeah.
we should be able to, bounce our thoughts and ideas off of each other freely.
Yeah.
We should be. Now, I'm not saying we should say, I come on here and say, yes, I advocate for, sexually abusing children. Of course not.
Yeah.
That is a whole different animal, But to simply, again, have a political stance or make a joke. I mean, what happened to comedy over the last 15 years or so? Because it really has. This kind of all took off around, 2011, 2012, in that neighborhood where things got really out of hand. I think that is mostly because of not the birth of, but the access to social media has just exploded.
Mm-hmm.
But
and everyone with an opinion can share it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a comedian, unless you're already a very well-known comedian like Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr or somebody like that, a young, up-and-coming man or woman in comedy really has to be careful where's the humor in that?
Yeah.
If you're being careful, or back to the punk rock world, your music world, whatever it is, how can I write my feelings down on a piece of paper if you're going to cancel me for it?
Yeah. Some of my favorite punk rock bands have lyrics now where I'm like, that wouldn't fly today.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
back to the old days, in the late 70s, early 80s, in my time, you remember bands like Susie and the Banshees.
Yeah.
Right? Pretty tame band overall, correct?
Yeah.
And yet, I can find it on your phone right now. You can find photographs of Susie wearing Nazi uniforms.
Yeah.
Wearing Nazi paraphernalia. She was not a Nazi. She was far from being a Nazi, but it was an intentionally offensive fashion statement that she was making. Yeah. It had nothing to do with being pro-Nazi at all.
Yeah.
But again, in today's culture, you couldn't. I mean, forget about it. The things that come out of my mouth, especially in a bar, people will think, "Well, what are you, Archie Bunker? What year were you born?"
And I don't mind if people want to make the world a better place, if people want to try to change society in a way, make it more moral, more inclusive. But somebody says something somewhat offensive online, and the response is doxing, death threats, rape threats, telling them to kill themselves. What's worse?
Well, and the whole
What's
thing
worse?
too, when we say things like, and again, I don't want to get in the weeds on this, but the constant, be inclusive or be kind, these things that you hear almost chanted over and over and over again. Well, when you tell me to be kind, are you saying that I'm not kind to begin with?
Yeah.
Are you saying that I'm not inclusive to begin with? No. This is to take the other side of it. There is an aggressiveness to this. I don't even know what label to give them, but this cancel culture movement where they're hunting.
Yeah.
They're literally hunting for something to be offended by. What can I possibly be offended by today? You know what? I've beat up on Justin enough. I can't take him down another notch. Let me go after this guy, Travis. He's a pretty arrogant jerk.
Yeah.
What can I do to him?
And
it's ridiculous.
And if I guess that's my problem is if death threats are acceptable,
what's not?
Then what's not? And you can't tell me that because I did a few conventions and was around another person who said bad things that I deserve death threats. And that's the point is, hell, our justice system can't even get it right all the time. That's why we don't have mob mentality. How many cases I cover about wrongful convictions?
Yes.
And then you're going to say, well, cancel culture, these people were bad and they got to take accountability. But what about the ones that didn't do anything wrong? Because I can name off a dozen right now that they were taken out of context or somebody accused them of something they didn't do at all. And they were canceled, they were attacked, they were doxxed, and there's no recourse there for them. And that's my problem is if the system can't even get it right all the time, sorry, I don't have any faith that a bunch of people on fucking Twitter are going to get it right.
Yes, sir.
So this drove me into a deep depression. This absolutely destroyed my life. And if you want to take a break, we can.
You know what? It's a good time. Let's take a break and then we'll start. We'll come back with the most miserable time of your life. All right? How's that? We'll be right back, everybody. Hey, how you doing? It's me again, another nobody, Travis Myers. And today we're going to talk whiskey. I know most of you think of me as an all-American patriotic type guy, and you are right. But when it comes to whiskey and drinking whiskey, which I do, I always go for the Irish stuff. And my choice when it comes to the Irish stuff is Powers Irish Whiskey. Established back in 1791, it's a triple distilled, oak-aged whiskey. Powers is simply magic. It also happens to be the #1 selling whiskey in Ireland, which has got to say something, because if it's good enough for the Irish, it's good enough for you. So the next time you raise a glass, fill it with Powers, and think of me, another nobody, Travis Myers. Yeah, that's. I'm so happy myself that I was never mixed up in any of this.
You will be.
I'm sure I will be. I'm sure I will be. I tell you what, I really don't think I will give a shit. To tell you the truth.
I do not wish it upon you, but you will be.
Like being a pub owner for so long, all through the MySpace, Facebook, whatever, people would just rip shit apart. And one of the best posts we had, and then we'll get back to the show. One time somebody was going on and on and on about what a shithole I owned, and it was a little divey punk rock bar that I had for years, And somebody replied, "Looks like somebody got thrown out." But I never was on social media, so I never allowed it to bother me.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Are you ready to get back and dive into your deep depression?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are again here with my friend Justin, who's going to tell us all about the deepest, darkest days of his life.
Yeah. So this is probably now 2019-ish.
29. So not that long ago.
Yeah.
Not that long ago. 6 years ago.
Yeah. So the cancellation is sort of ended. But I hate life. I hate everybody in the world. I think the world is shit. I'm like, okay, so all the good I've done in the world does not matter. Nothing I say matters. And none of my friends understood. No one understands how bad it feels to have half the internet attack you.
Right.
Therapists don't understand it. They're just like, turn off your phone. It's like, it's not that easy. And on top of that, the IRS was coming after my wife hard in her business.
Okay.
And after 2 years of auditing her, I think they came up with like $45 in like use tax that she owed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved on to me. And I'm a big time podcaster who's now making money and who's now successful. I just gotten signed to Wondery. I'm doing good. It's the first time I've really made real money. I've now quit my day job and am doing podcasting full time. And the IRS comes after me and they audit me for 3 years straight. And they're dicks.
Yeah.
And they deny every single write-off I ever took. And they reset me to zero in back taxes. Because, again, life isn't fair. Didn't matter what I did. And I probably paid more in taxes than every single one of our fucking U.S. presidents. So I didn't declare bankruptcy, but I was reset to zero. in the middle of this cancellation and all this other crap, my marriage falls apart. I'm depressed. I'm not engaged. I'm not there, and end up leaving my wife. COVID happens, which was just the icing on the cake at that point, because I'm not happy, and now I'm stuck in the house and can't even, it's horrible. And so that all happens, and now I'm divorced. I'm not happy podcasting because I'm like, what? I'm going to put out another episode and somebody's going to say I'm a racist, a sexist, or something horrible about me. Every time I'm hitting publish, I'm having an anxiety attack.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time. I'm just like, what are they going to find wrong today? It stole all the joy out of my life. Any hobby I had, stopped doing it. Any friends I had probably stopped talking to me because I was so miserable to talk.
Yeah.
And then it was, I think it was 2021, around Thanksgiving. I'm not really close with my family. I don't have any friends. And I go eat with some of my family for Thanksgiving. And it's during COVID times, 2020. And, or I don't remember if it was 2020 or 2021. I don't remember. But we're all socially distancing in the garage, eating our turkey dinner, whatever it is. And I got home and I just said, you know what? I don't want to live anymore. And I took a fucking handful of pills. Just, we're done. I don't need to be in this world anymore.
I'm very happy to say that, I'm very happy to see that didn't have the effect you intended.
Yeah. I woke up the next day, probably 36 hours later. And I went to the hospital and I said, hey, I need some help. I'd never had committed myself before. And I didn't even know if I wanted to be committed. I just wanted help. I wanted to talk to somebody.
So was this a mental hospital or
No,
a hospital?
Regular hospital.
Regular hospital.
And of course, they asked that question, are you thinking about harming yourself? And hell, I'm like, I already did. I'm here because I just woke up.
Yeah.
So of course they take me in the back, stripped all the clothes off of me, and essentially put me in a mental hospital for a 72-hour hold. It's Black Friday after Thanksgiving, COVID shutdowns, and I'm stuck in this hellhole where they have no staff. They're not allowing you to do anything because of COVID restrictions. And they're not even replacing your towels or your clothes or your masks that you're forced to wear. So I essentially sat in my own muck for 3 days around meth heads and people that were people who thought they were werewolves. And I'm not even like trying to make it funny or exaggerate. But one guy thought he was a werewolf and another guy was having meth withdrawals. And I had to sit in that for a weekend and no one talked to me. Nobody helped me. Didn't get shit. And I think I ended up getting billed between $1,000 to $3,000 a day for that stay because my insurance didn't cover it. And so by Monday or whatever day it was when their hospital staff, whatever, came back in, you want to get out of that place so bad that you'll tell them anything you want and anything they want to hear to get the fuck out of there, because this place is making you want to kill yourself even more.
Sure.
Being there.
Sure.
So I just said, yeah, I feel fine now. Good. See you later. Bye. And they let me out. And then the outpatient follow-up was horrific. And they kept prescribing me different SSRIs that actually had the opposite effect. They're supposed to sedate you. They're supposed to make you happy, whatever. They made me way more hostile, way more suicidal, all of these things. And it was
like they always say at the end of the TV commercial.
Yeah. All of those disclaimers, like.
Exactly. May cause suicidal tendencies.
Yeah.
So.
And it did. Like Prozac for me, if it works for you, great. Prozac for me made me road rage on a lady on the road to the point where I followed her home.
Wow.
She cut me off on the road, and I'm like, fuck this bitch. And I fucking just rode her ass.
It's not something that's part of your
This is
personality.
not me.
You strike me as a very relaxed, laid back guy for the most part.
Yeah. I was seeing red all day
Mhm.
long. I burned some bridges with podcast friends and stuff for a couple months of that portion of my life because I would just go off.
Mhm.
And so I stopped taking it because I'm like, this is, everyone's like, are you okay? Because you're not okay. And I'm like, and it took weeks for it to get out of my system. So it wasn't just like I stopped taking Prozac one day and I was fine. No, it took like 2 weeks for me to get back to normal.
Well, because it's got an afterlife.
Yeah.
It's going to stay with you for a while. And you're not the first person now. I have heard this, I mean, if not a dozen, dozens of times, where people will either be talking about themselves or talking about their loved ones or their friends who say the second that they got on the drugs, they got worse.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it didn't click. But again, I'm not beating up on the psychiatrist that prescribed it to you. They think they're doing the right thing, but they hand you a pill, and everybody's body works differently. And since they're not with you 24 hours a day, there's no way to gauge how it's affecting you.
Yeah.
And now you end up worse off than you were before, crazier than you were before, more depressed or suicidal than you were before. And I try to avoid medicine period as much as possible. And I thank God I've never taken any psychiatric medicine.
Yeah.
But I fear the idea of it.
Yeah. So here I am. I'm trying to pick up the pieces of my life that I feel like is completely fallen apart. I hate everything. I don't derive any joy from anything I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm getting the help I need. I'm going to talk therapy, but still not really helping. And so I get COVID really bad. I was sick. I think it was 2022 from January 1st, because I got it New Year's Day. From January 1st to February 1st,
The
whole month, I was dying on my couch. I actually called the hospital and I'm like, I'm really sick. I need to come in. And they, in a nice way, they said, you'll die in our waiting room. If you're going to die, just stay home. You'll be more comfortable. Essentially is what they said in a very nice way. And so after that, I had long COVID symptoms, which was even worse. And at this same time, my sister had been on and off heroin for a long time.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And she was court ordered because she had a freak out, got in trouble multiple times. So she was court ordered to do drug testing weekly, all of this shit. So she was clean for like 2 years. And she was a completely different person because she wasn't using. And me, who's like, people never change. I'll never, I see her and I see her doing so well. I see her trying. So I'm trying to help her. She's like, Justin, I got one more court date. Can you come in and be a character reference for me and tell the court, like, hey, this is my sister, go lenient on her and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, totally do it. Like, I see you trying, getting jobs, whatever. And then I get a phone call from my mom and she says, Megan's dead.
I'm sorry.
And it was 2 days after her probation period was up.
Yeah.
She had been clean for 2 years, was no longer getting drug tested, and she immediately used. And it was like pure fentanyl. It wasn't even heroin.
Oh, that fentanyl is such scary, scary shit.
Yeah.
So scary.
So my mom calls me, tells me Megan's dead. And I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? She's like, she's in the basement. I did CPR on her, but her body's cold.
That Feel bad for your mother too. What an awful thing to have to do.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want me to come over? And my mom goes, why? What are you going to do? And hung
Yeah.
up.
Wow.
So that's kind of the family I have,
Yeah.
you know, and that hit me way harder than my brother's death because I was back engaged with my sister.
Sure. And you had been estranged for him for a while.
6-7 years from my
Mhm.
brother. Whereas I was actively hanging out with my sister, trying to support her, trying to get her to do the right things, trying to even show up in court and speak on her behalf.
Yeah.
We didn't get to that court date. She died, and that just destroyed me.
Yeah.
And this is right off of my suicide attempt.
Yeah.
Like right after, like maybe a month or two after. I guess so. My suicide attempt was Thanksgiving, so it was November. This is April, so a few months away. And it destroyed my mom. I mean, she's lost 2 of her 3 children now, and sadly, I still get to read comments online from people that tell me my sister deserved it.
Of course. Yes.
Tell me
Yeah.
it was the vaccine that killed her. Tell me
Mhm.
whatever, and so this isn't helping my mental state of,
I'm sure it was.
thinking the world is just shit. Um, and then I had a bunch of horrible relationships, and I don't mean to say they were horrible because the woman I was with was totally horrible, but I wasn't the right person to be with at that time. They weren't the
Hmm.
right person to be with. Just they were
Mhm.
failures in their own right for their own reasons. And I ended up just being like desperate to be like, okay, what should I do here? And talk therapy isn't working. Prozac isn't working. Going to the gym and exercising every day and going outside and touching grass isn't fucking working. Um, so I actually started ketamine treatments. And I was like, I can just sign up and they'll send this shit to me in the mail. Like, what? What kind of world do we live in? But I'm desperate. And my ex-wife, who I'm still friends with to this day, and other family members, they're like, hey, Justin, I tried ketamine and it actually helps a lot with depression.
Right.
So I tried it. And in about 2 weeks' time, ish, I woke up one day. This is daily treatments. And I just had, my mind was blank. And I'm like, the
It
hell?
freed you.
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on? Like,
Mhm.
what am I going to do today? What's, what's on the plate? What's on my agenda for today?
Mhm.
Because I didn't realize that I was thinking about killing myself so often that every waking moment of my life was just, as soon as I woke up, it was just like, hang myself today would probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
And the ketamine just shut that shit down. And then all of a sudden, all the talk therapy starts working because it's getting through all of these things that I'm
I can
trying.
see that. Sure.
Yeah.
I can see that.
All
Yeah.
these things that I had been trying that were failing are now working or
Mhm.
helpful, but they were never going to work until you get those thoughts out of your head.
Mhm.
And so it took me a couple months to feel really good and start just not having any kind of suicidal thoughts or ideation, not hating myself or hating the world, really. I didn't ever really hate myself too much because I never thought I ever did anything wrong. I just thought the world was a shitty place.
Yeah. The world was against you. Sure.
Yeah, So now I can start appreciate that I have a very successful podcast.
Mhm.
Now I can actually comprehend that I have a lot of people that like to hear me talk.
Mhm.
Now I can uh, appreciate and not take for granted that I'm doing my passion. I'm not working in a cubicle every day, not, just toiling about life. I'm doing my dream job. And if I wanted to get in my car today and do whatever I wanted, I could, as long as the episode gets edited and published on Sunday, I have that freedom. And I couldn't see that for like 8 years, couldn't see that for so long because I was
I
so
don't
miserable.
know what happens to us as people where, that old saying, the forest through the trees kind of thing, where to you or I, if I was looking at you, I'd be, Justin, what's wrong with you? Why can't you see how good life is, how beautiful life is, and vice versa? I'm going through something or whatever, and, my wife or my kids or my friends or my brother, Travis, it's not what you think it is, but we bury ourselves, and there is like a bit of a snowball effect where, like you say, once you consider suicide, you consider it every day, and I guess luckily for this ketamine, it took the weight off of your chest that allowed you to get that breath, that allowed you to breathe. And then the therapy kicked in. And what are you doing now for yourself? Are you still in a therapeutic situation? Are you feeling, I'm back to my normal self?
I'm back to my normal self. I'm not even, I didn't continue taking the ketamine treatments because there are side effects. They do make you dizzy, nauseated. They're supposed to elevate your heart rate. Trying to troubleshoot long COVID and being 48 years old. I've been doing a lot of other things, and like I wasn't able to get to the gym or do things because I was just so fatigued. So I'm like talking to my doctor. I'm like, do I need testosterone? And I'm sorry, but my doctor was kind of worthless. And I'm like, you know what? I can just go out online and order testosterone and just start trying it myself because I have to advocate for myself now because nobody else is helping me.
Well, and quite often, and again, I'm not up on doctors, but quite often they're wrong. They don't know. They don't care. They have to see 30 other patients that day. And here, like the Prozac thing, the Prozac was obviously absolutely not for you. But the doctor, the psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever he was, didn't think of trying out this ketamine treatment, which worked in, sounds like about 2 weeks you were feeling better.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. And now all of a sudden, it's not just you aren't depressed anymore. It's you can actually live your life again. And I mean, we can all, people can look at me and be like, man, I'd kill to have your life, Justin. Well, but what about Robin Williams or Anthony Bourdain or whoever? Like, there's a lot of big time people that have taken their own lives, and I was miserable. And there was nothing I could do. There was nothing anyone could say to me or anything. It was just like this, and it sucked because I wanted to do good things. I liked helping other people. And then when I got into that mode, after being canceled, being audited and all this other bullshit, I'm just like, I don't want to be nice to people anymore. I don't have to be nice. I can just sit at home and be miserable every day. And that was the result of it all. And now here I am on your podcast. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even responded to you. It's been like, who the fuck are you? I'm not going on your stupid podcast. I don't need to help anybody else.
Well, I can say for our listeners and for your fans and all of our con types. All right. What do you call it? Luckily, I met you after all of this. And you've always seemed like a very positive guy to me. So the Justin that you have described is absolutely not the Justin that I know, and for everybody out there who is feeling sad, depressed, anxious, hateful, hurtful, any other words I can think of, and try, and everybody will tell you the same thing, and I know it's so hard. Try to get yourself together. Try to get some help. If the doctors and the hospitals and your family aren't helping you, help yourself. Do something. Be positive. Take care of yourself. You're the only you got, And what's the point of it if you're miserable all the time?
I mean, you have
you
to.
can be happy. I do believe people can find some sense of happiness, some sense of grace with the world. No matter what it is you bury yourself in, like some people it is, like you say, the gym. I enjoy to work out. It helps me out because it gets stuff out of my head, the writing has taken off for me. It's great because it gives me something to do. It keeps me from being bored. It keeps me from, it's a creative outlet for me. You know, if you're not a creative person, I get that. Not everybody is. Volunteer, man. I tell you, I am lucky. And when I say this, I'm making a joke, but I'm a little bit serious. And if there was like one of these St. Jude hospitals or something near where I live, I'd probably never be home.
Yeah.
Because I know I'd get sucked in by those little kids. I'd never be able to not go. I would do everything I could to live to be 100 years old just to help out those little kids.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, find something. Everybody's got something that you can find. You got to search for it.
And you have to advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
not every
You know?
therapist or doctor is the right one for you. And you got to keep finding the one that is, you know?
Yes. Yes, sir.
That's it.
But now you're doing good.
I'm doing good. Much better place.
Good.
Yeah.
So
That's the full arc there.
yeah, we kind of started from the very beginning. It took it right to the very end. And I'm glad it wasn't the very end for you, my friend, because you got a lot of years ahead of you.
Yeah.
So
I hope so.
am I going to see you in September?
Yes, you are.
Outstanding.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Denver. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Man.
PrimeCon's turned out to be a pretty good thing.
Oh, it's fun. It's so much fun.
I enjoy it. Enjoy it. Well, listen, here, I'll ask you this before we say goodbye. When you go to CrimeCon, your CrimeCon question, a personal question, I don't care what our listeners think, but when we go to CrimeCon, what day do you arrive there? Do you show up like on the Wednesday before, the Thursday before? How early?
I always get there a day before, depending on when it starts, because I need a day of rest.
We learned that after the first one. After the first one, we added a day to the front and the back just for travel time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So when I see you in September, I'm going to buy you dinner, all right?
All right.
Fair enough?
I'm down. I'll probably get there Wednesday. So if you want to try it Wednesday night, I'm down.
We'll be there. We get extra early because I got to bring all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, same. And I'll probably end up driving because I'm in Kansas City. It's a 10-hour drive for me.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Awesome.
Well, my friend, thank you so much for joining me. It was nice sitting down.
Yeah.
You know, I hope talking about some of this fairly miserable stuff, you got some more of it off of your chest.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I wish you all the best because I do genuinely like you, my friend. All right?
You're a good guy, man. Thank you.
All the best, pal. All right. Well, there you have it. My interview with Justin Evans. If you liked him, check him out on Generation Y, one of the top true crime podcasts in the world. He also hosts the Peripheral, all right, which yours truly, me, another nobody, Travis Myers, was on about a year ago telling my story. Other than that, that's all I got. So please, do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll see you next week, my friends. All the best. Listen up. This one's important. I'd like to try to encourage you, please, to give to the Stephen Siller Foundation, Tunnel to Towers, at T2T.org. That's letter T, number 2, letter T.org. Do good for those who've done good for you.